So the three people on this stage are like-minded partners, and our strategy, Gift of Life strategy, is to find those partners out there that can help us have the greatest impact on what we do. There's no scenario that one organization can do everything. And early on in our development, I realized that there were so many wonderfully talented organizations and individuals that we could partner with. One of those great partners is in London, England, and the charity was started, as I mentioned last night, by Sir Magdi Yaqub, a great pediatric cardiac surgeon. I know Emma's going to go into that. And I did mention, Emma last night. As I mentioned, we met in Jamaica in 2010, and we became friends and really partners in this work. And I think that's important. You got to respect the people you work with, and you really have to respect the fact that they come with something that you don't have, and you got to make that realization and put your ego on a side. And that's true in all three of these relationships. So Emma Scanlan is the CEO of Chain of Hope. She's been doing this a lot longer than me, and she has been really a driving, well, you have been, You're younger, but you've been doing it longer than me. And make sure, well, they could see it. They could see it. Trying to dig out of this. So anyway, Emma is used to that. But we really have done some great things in Jamaica, Uganda. You're going to hear about that, and really around the world. So without any further faux pas, Emma Scanlan.
Thank you very much, Robinho. Do I need the...
You do.
Just so it's just like, okay. Thank you very much. Well, as you heard, I'm here really today as a partner of Gift of Life International. I'm very honored and proud to be a partner of Gift of Life International. At Chain of Hope, we really believe in the power of collaboration and everybody coming together. I think we can do more when we work together. You have quite a few NGOs in this space, in the cardiac world, internationally, and most of us know each other. There's some perhaps we still haven't met. But I think it's really important, and I love the fact that we do work well together. And there are always things that you may not disagree on, you may not agree on, you may disagree on. But I think one of the things I want to say about the partnership is, we work together for a common goal to help children and help develop services around the world. So just a little bit about Chain of Hope for those of you that might not know us before we go on to the partnership, really. So Chain of Hope was founded nearly 30 years ago. We're definitely younger than you guys, to follow that. It was founded by Sir Magdi Yaqub. Some of you here may know of him, a pioneering heart surgeon, with the desire to help children in less fortunate countries than where we were originating in the UK. I always say Chain of Hope could actually be based on a yacht I wish it was, in the ocean, because we fly international teams from all over the world to different countries, even though we came out of the UK. But we are a registered charity in the UK. It's called the Chain of Hope because it started with a chain of volunteers out of La Chaîne de l'Espoir in France, in Paris, which is a much bigger charity than we were in the beginning. And what it was by bringing children originally from Africa via a chain of volunteers. So you had the airlines who would hopefully donate the tickets. You would have host families who would look after the children before and after surgery. And then you would have the doctors who would volunteer their time to treat those children. So it came out of humble origins, really just bringing a few children from Africa in 1996. And then we developed that to start our missions. I think Dr. Heshem, who's here through Gift of Life representative in Cairo, we started our missions actually with Dr. Heshem in Kasseleni Hospital. And then we moved on to the Children's Hospital at Abu Rish in Cairo. So very humble beginnings. Those missions were just purely to treat children, but we developed that to train professionals, cardiac professionals, and that's really developed over the years because we really think it's about teaching a man to fish rather than just fishing. Both of those things are important, though. Treating one child at a time is very important to us. Chain of Hope now has surgeons, as I say, from all over the world, and we still celebrate our grandfather and founder, Sir Magdi Yaqub. We have the International Child Referral Programme, which still continues to bring children, not so much to the UK since COVID, sadly, but we transfer children to some of the centres that we've actually helped to develop. So back in 2009, with seed funding, we started a cardiac center called the Aswan Heart Center in the south of Egypt, or Upper Egypt, as it's known there. And we fly those children to the center that we've helped develop. Now that they've become their own sustainable center, we actually pay them funding for children to go there. For the more complex surgeries, we send children to Barcelona and to other centers where we can treat them. But this is the smaller side of what we do. The larger side, and the side where we mostly partner with Gift of Life, is where we do the surgical and catheter missions, treating between 10 to 15 children on the mission, depending on what it is, normally with a long-term partnership in place. So most of the countries we do that in, we have helped to develop a cardiac center. Those countries are Mozambique, Uganda, through Gift of Life, after meeting, as Rob so kindly said, on a beach in Jamaica last night. Wasn't quite a beach in Jamaica. We'd signed an MOU in Jamaica.
I was trying to clean it up a little bit.
And we train cardiologists, nurses, and surgeons in those countries, really to help develop the long-term goal. We source vital equipment, as you heard from some of the partners this morning. We've sourced vital equipment. We think that developing infrastructure and medical equipment is vital to developing a program. So again, in Jamaica, which you'll hear about in a minute, and other countries, Uganda, we've given hardware equipment, and we've helped to develop actual cardiac buildings in Aswan and in Mozambique and Jamaica and Ethiopia. These are some of the countries that we've brought children from, and some of the countries that's really our reach of where we work. So the partnership, let's focus on that. So as we said, we met Rob in 2010 through Jamaica. And we have Nola Philpotts-Brown here, who's representing Chain of Hope Jamaica, which is a separate charity. Big wave to Nola over there. At the only children's hospital in the English-speaking Caribbean. So these are some of the countries overall that we've partnered with. Uganda initially, Jamaica, Bolivia, Dominican Republic more recently, El Salvador in the earlier days of the project. As you heard earlier, it's really functioning so well on its own now. Jordan and Kosovo. So Jamaica, just to take that as a spotlight, really, I think it's what partnership can do. So we started off in the early days. Gift of Life was really helping to send patients overseas, as Chain of Hope were, to help save some of these children's lives and get them up to America for treatment. And then we moved on to partnering on missions to treat the children. And we're really grateful for the support of Gift of Life. And we have George Solomon also here today. Thank you for your support and your club's support for a lot of the training missions that we now do. It was really important to develop the training missions where we were teaching and training the local nurses, perfusionists, anaesthetists, and cardiologists. But in addition to that, we brought cardiologists to the UK and anaesthetists to the UK, where we funded their training, and in partnership with Gift of Life, Chain of Hope set up those training programs, and Gift of Life helped with the funding for that. So that's where the partnership really helped us to achieve what we needed to achieve. And all of those doctors that we've trained, I'm really happy to say they're still in Jamaica. Different story with the nursing, as you probably heard earlier, with Guyana and other places. It's very challenging, not just the UK that was mentioned recruiting them, but America too. There's very aggressive recruitment of the Caribbean nurses, and it's something that we really, really struggle to keep them there. So what we've done is we've developed a national curriculum with the University of Technology and the Ministry of Health to keep training nurses when they're in ICU school in cardiac module, so that there is a constant continuity of nurses coming out of university and intensive care school with cardiac knowledge and hopefully the motivation to work locally. We're still working on the government there for the retention plan, so I need to speak to, was it Dr. Perez, about what they've done in Guyana? That sounded very interesting. We also, perhaps most importantly, with Gift of Life's help, developed, and Rotary, developed the first pediatric dedicated cardiac unit in Jamaica, which was, as you see pictures here, is standing in it actually with the Minister of Health and the different partners. And we partnered with Gift of Life. Those of you that know Shaggy the entertainer, he has a charity. They contributed massively to the first pediatric catheter lab in Jamaica. And it really, if it wasn't for Gift of Life and the Rotary grant, we could not have done this with the different partners that contributed to that. Since then, we've helped hundreds of children have been treated in that catheter lab. And I think it's a wonderful example of how we can work in partnership and come together to really build infrastructure and sustainability in countries. As you can see there, that's the dedicated cardiac unit that's built on the hospital grounds, Bustamante Hospital for Children it's called, and as I say, the only paediatric hospital in the island. So now that's the first dedicated cardiac unit with a state-of-the-art cath lab, cardiac unit, and a cardiac dedicated ICU. That was groundbreaking, and those of you that do know Shaggy, he's there. Something's happened, I think, with the screen. Oh.
That's not you. I think it's
Is that over there?
it's them on that end.
So the groundbreaking happened back in 2013. So you can see Rob there from Gift of Life, local Rotary members, members of the government, as I say, local charities, Digicel, which is a local company. Again, a great example of partnership coming together there, all to help children develop services. Actually, I want to pay special homage to the man in the center who has sadly passed away, but he was the representative, Guy McCallum of Gift of Life International in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And sadly, we lost him a couple of years ago now. But he was a great guy and helped to save the lives of many children in Jamaica.
Yeah.
We also have a massive project partnering in Jordan to help save children's lives and develop national services there. So it's Gift of Life have really been at the forefront of trying to develop the national services, with Chain of Hope really supporting with the clinical expertise, the medical teams to come overseas, but also really to treat children from war-torn countries. So Gift of Life International are driving this, but we bring the teams, we help with the funding. We've been evacuating children from Gaza who are now part of some of those missions, and we're helping with their accommodation and housing. So from Chain of Hope's perspective, really our focus is to help children from war-torn country, one child at a time. But we're really proud to be in the framework, if you like, of Gift of Life International's foresight to help develop services in Jordan. And we're very happy to support that as much as we can. Dominican Republic and Bolivia, we more recently got involved with helping to fund rather than sending medical teams, so a slightly different approach to the partnership. So we provide funding, and that may not be apparent to many people on the ground, but we're very happy to be supporting Gift of Life in these countries to help the reach of more children. And I think it's an example of the different ways where we can partner. Rob sometimes might support with funding for our missions to Jamaica. We're funding with support to the Dominican Republic and Bolivia. So we kind of adapt and pivot really in terms of how we partner in different countries to reach more children as a common goal. Uganda was one of the first ones we partnered with, that you heard earlier, after Jamaica. And as you can see here, back in 2011, we actually managed, after that first meeting on the beach in Jamaica, to have a conversation. Chain of Hope had been bringing children to the UK from Uganda for some time, and one child at a time, as I say, is very worthwhile. But a bigger picture to actually develop the services in the country is so much more important. And that was Gift of Life's vision again. So we worked within their framework, and the first mission was conducted by our founder and president, Samagdi Yakub, who's pictured there. And in the other photograph, where you can see Rob, myself, with one of our patients, is Vibeke Horjal, who's one of the lead surgeons that we take from Denmark to Uganda. And we're just about to embark on the first surgical mission since COVID for us to the Uganda Heart Institute in 2 weeks' time with a surgeon from Sweden and Professor Victor Sang from Great Ormond Street Hospital and a team funded through Chain of Hope. So we continue to support that project, which Gift of Life International lead. Catheter training missions have actually been ongoing while the intensive care was being refurbished in Uganda, and we've been sending Professor Shakil Qureshi to lead those because he's been leading the training, a lot of the training, I should say, not all of the training, but he's been leading a lot of the training of the local cardiologists, as most of you will know, who went overseas for training. We've also funded some of the Ugandan cardiologists and some of the team there to be trained again at the Aswan Heart Centre, which originally created by Chain of Hope, but now actually training other doctors and nurses from around the world, which I think is a wonderful thing. And that's really just to give you a bit of a summary about Chain of Hope's partnership with Gift of Life. I want to say very honoured to be the partner of Gift of Life, and I want to say a very happy birthday to Gift of Life International.
Thank you, Emma.
Thank you.
Excellent. So, Chain of Hope was created before Gift of Life International, and they had some great experience, and I really have learned a lot from Emma over the years. And And as we go and work together, I think that we both use whatever our skills are, and it seems to work very nicely. It especially worked well in Jamaica, I thought. And COVID really had a tremendous impact on that program, and we really are kind of digging ourselves out. But I think ultimately we're going to get a sustainable program in Jamaica, and it's because of Chain of Hope and Emma's amazing efforts there. So I want to compliment you on that. We'll see who's up next. Anybody have a quick question for Emma? Let's do one quick question out there if you have it. Anybody have a hand up? Want to stand up? Really can't see with the lights. If anybody has a question. One of the things in Jordan, our great supporters are Niall and Ruba. If you could two stand up, please. They really make our efforts in Amman. I'm not going to say easy, but they really facilitate us being able to send our teams there and being able to access the care to the children on a really very direct basis. And we are working to develop sustainability. Niall's going to speak later this afternoon about that. So I just wanted to recognize them. They're two great friends and really great humanitarians. We could play Born to Run again if you want to hear that. So our next partner and our awardee last evening is fairly new to the Gift of Life network. I first met Sonia Keeling from HeartGift when I started in 2008, and our goal there was to bring kids to the United States, and HeartGift had great access to some hospitals, and we helped a lot of children together. That really all changed when our next speaker came on board, and Christy had a vision, I think, and I don't want to speak for her, but this is the way I saw it, a vision of expanding what HeartGift can do, and they just celebrated their 25th year in Austin, Texas. I went to that event. It was an absolutely beautiful event. I learned a lot from it, but what I really learned was how impactful Christy has been on that organization. She has become a really close friend that I really appreciate. Our work together, and really looking forward to your presentation. So Christy Casey Moore, CEO of HeartGift. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you also for an incredible evening last night. I know my team, I think, closed the dance floor. Just saying. And if you didn't see them, I'm sure there's probably some videos around. So, and thank you also for the incredible honor last night. I really do believe that the honor is quite ours to be partnering with you, as well as other organizations that are sitting up here, as well as in the audience tonight. So, as Rob said, my name is Christy Casey Moore, and I'm the CEO of HeartGift. I've been at HeartGift 9 years. April will be 10 years. Can you believe it, Owen? 10 years. That's a long time almost. Sort of, kind of. Okay, so a little bit about HeartGift. Let's see if I can. This is Sweet Mercy. Mercy is a 3-year-old little girl from Uganda. Mercy was born with 4 holes in her heart, and without the help of HeartGift and our partners, Mercy would not have lived to see her next birthday. Mercy came to the United States for her surgery at our Louisiana chapter. This is Sadmu. Sadmu is the cutest little 8-year-old boy from Mongolia. Sadmu has great aspirations to be a champion wrestler, and this is, I'm probably gonna mess this up a little bit, but this is part of a traditional wrestling outfit for young men. And so all he could talk about when he was in Louisiana was how he was going to be, he was from Houston, how he wanted to get through his heart surgery, and because he had great aspirations to be a wrestler. Luke. It didn't matter what Luke felt like. Luke always had this smile on his face. He's a 1-year-old little boy from Honduras. Luke came to Louisiana for his heart surgery for a time being because there were no services in Honduras. but I'm going to come back to that in a few minutes. The cutest little boy. And here's Zavia, a 3-year-old little girl that came to Louisiana for our New Orleans chapter, in Louisiana for her heart surgery. And yes, the Philippines is far away from New Orleans, Louisiana. But at the time, she did not, there is surgery available, but when we talk about access, it was the financial access. She didn't have the financial access to the surgery that she needed, so she was referred to us, and she came to the New Orleans chapter, the cutest little heart pajamas. Each one of these children have a very unique story. And like us, all sitting here on this stage and that I've talked to since I've been here and here in the room, our organizations, we all also, and us personally, all have a very unique story. But one thing, as Emma started out with, is that collectively, through collaboration, we are all have a shared mission and headed the right way. And in the name of what we're here for, which is this big celebration of 50 years, we should celebrate ourselves. As you might tell, I am from Texas, just a little bit. Rob gives me a hard time about my accent. And we do things a little different in Texas, and typically we do things really big. And so we should celebrate big. So over and beyond what we did last night, take a hot second, look at your friend that you're sitting next to, however you celebrate, a fist bump, a high five, a big hug. We hug big, we love big in Texas. But look at them just real quick and tell them, thank you, we got this. Let's keep doing this hard work that we are doing, because we deserve a congratulations to ourselves as well. Okay. Who are these two amazingly handsome young men? This is Dr. Chip Oswalt and Ray Wilkerson. Ray's in the brown jacket and Chip is in, I think that's blue, the blue. This was one day after we had gone to lunch and just had yet another amazing conversation about HeartGift. And so Chip and Ray founded HeartGift back in 2000. Chip is now a retired adult cardiothoracic surgeon. And then Ray is a local businessman in Austin. And so I think I might have forgot to say, so HeartGift is headquartered in Austin, Texas. And so we all live in Austin. And so in 2000, and the story is, and this is a true story, HeartGift was founded by these two gentlemen on a fishing trip in the Amazon. And at this point, Ray looks at Chip. I'm going to spare you the very long details, but Ray looks at Chip and says, Chip, we've been very blessed. We've been able to do some really good things in our lives, but we need to make sure that we leave this world a better place. What are we going to do? And so Chip looked at Ray and said, funny that you say that. I actually have just recently learned of a child that has been referred to our adult office that needs surgery outside the United States. They don't have access to this surgery. And so Ray said, okay, well, what do we need to do? And Chip said, well, when we get back to Austin, I'll go to the Children's Hospital. At the time, it was called Breckenridge Hospital. And I'll talk to those guys and see what we can do. Fast forward, they got back. Chip went to the hospital and said, hey, we got to help this child. Children in the United States get access, right? So it's either you have insurance, even from a Medicaid standpoint, you have it from Medicaid, undocumented, it doesn't matter. You have access. These children in the United States have access. Walk in through the emergency room. And so our own children are being taken care of. This child is not. And this is ridiculous. This child has a very simple CHD and can be fixed and saved with one surgery. And so at that moment, HeartGift was created and HeartGift was founded. Chip went back to Ray and said, we did it. We're going to pay a nominal fee to the hospital, and we're going to bring this baby here, and we're going to save their life. And Ray said, how much money you need? And Chip said, I need $100,000 to create the organization and to get this baby here and all of the fees. And so about a week and a half later, they raised $100,000, and that was in 2000. And so we are very, very fortunate and very happy to say that, as Rob said, we have just celebrated, or we are currently celebrating our 25th birthday, because we, like everybody, we're in the business of providing birthdays, right? That's what we do. We save lives. We provide birthdays. So we are celebrating our 25th year birthday this year. In the beginning, our model. And I say in the beginning, for the first 17 years, our model was we had 4 chapters, 3 in Texas, 1 in Louisiana, Austin, Houston, San Antonio, and in New Orleans. And so we would bring children to the United States for this surgery. We have contracted relationships with these hospitals in these cities, but that is truly when our partnership began with organizations around the world, which is a referral source. So children find HeartGift through amazing partners like this, as well as self-referrals. I'll tell you a quick story. We brought a child in probably 3-4 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. Recently, in the last 9 years I've been here, and we were talking with the mom, and we learned that she had reached out to this. She was a self-referral. She didn't come from one of our amazing partners. She was a self-referral, and she had reached out to 70 different people, 70 different organizations for help before she found HeartGift on the internet. And so I don't think that any of us could debate that the need is there. And so it's why we do what we do so tirelessly. So 17 years, we're operating in 4 chapters amongst 2 states. And then all of a sudden, one of our partners in Houston at Memorial Hermann, with a couple of people from TCH, reached out and said, hey, well, actually, I'm sorry, let me go back real quick. So the way that our structure is, we have an executive director in each one of these chapters, so a single executive director, and then 1 patient coordinator. And I am going to call out somebody, because if you don't know, or maybe you have talked with this young lady, I know you love me, Sonia, this young lady, if you have talked with or have ever met Sonia Keeling, Sonia, raise your hand, please. Stand up. Sonia, thank you. Sonia has been with HeartGift for 22 years, and I'm going to bet there's a lot of people in this room that have talked with Sonia over the phone, over email. You think of Sonia as a triage nurse. She's not a nurse. She plays one on TV or on Zoom calls, whichever. But every child that we bring to the United States for the last 22 years was touched by Sonia to ensure that those children were placed correctly. And so we have Sonia, the children come in, then they go out to the chapters. We have a local medical team at these chapters, which really consists of the local cardiologist, and they then review the case, and then once they get here, they stay with a host family, a volunteer host family, for 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how long the surgeon and the cardiologist want to keep them there, and then they go home. And as you guys know, it's the one surgery that saves their life, right? And so over the last 25 years, we've only had 2, 3. Sonia, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 or 3 patients, 2 or 3 children that we've had to find their second surgery. And so it's the beauty of CHD. One surgery saves their life. And so first, let me go back. So 17 years we're doing this, bringing children to the United States. The team in Houston comes to us and says, hey, we've been going to Santa Cruz, Bolivia, for a good handful of years. We've lost one of our logistic partners, and we've lost some funding. Would you be interested in helping? And so it's funny, in 2016, when I was hired, one of the board members at the Houston chapter asks me, he says, well, what do you feel about doing international work? And my first response during a phone interview was, well, isn't that what we're doing? And he says, no, I mean, like, go somewhere, go. And I was like, oh, okay, sure, let's talk about it later. And he was one of the drivers and advocates for this Bolivia trip, and ultimately a huge advocate and driver of our international program. And so this was the first of our kind. And so there was a team that was already going, there was a team that was created. And so what we have done since 2017 is we have helped fund and now very, 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 very involved in the logistics to ensure everything is ready and packed and ready to go when we get there, as well as just doing everything that we can to ensure the infrastructure of that partnership with the local hospital. And so, like the most of us, the teams that go are 100% volunteer. They take their PTO. There's a waiting list. Before they leave, they're knocking on Sonia's door saying, put me on the list for next year. And so this was really our first step into helping children outside the United States closer to their home, because for 17 years, like I said, we'd been helping children that were coming to the United States. And so just a few pictures of our Sweet Bolivia team. In fact, they just got back, like Rodrigo and some of you other guys. They got back about 6 days, last Saturday, right, Sonia? Yeah, last Saturday. So they just got back. They did 10 open heart and 9 cath. So they run both programs while they are there. They screened about 25, 30 children, actually a little bit more than that, I apologize. And so this is a really interesting program in Bolivia and Santa Cruz. You know, the team's been going there for now, I guess at this point, 18-ish years, 17 years. And the hospital there, which is at Clinica Incor, this is not let's teach them to fish model. They don't want that. And so some people sometimes question that, especially from a donor's perspective. Well, why aren't you teaching them to fish? And they have always been very transparent and very open with us and the team, prior kind of thing, that they don't have the infrastructure. But as we've learned today through other conversations, there is need in Bolivia, right? Every time I talk to Rob about, hey, Rob, where do you want to go? What are we going to do next? He's like, well, there's Bolivia. He's like, there's La Paz. I'm like, we're already in Santa Cruz. So we're dividing and conquering, right? So super great team, very, very proud of this work, and so happy that day that I was interviewed, somebody said, hey, what do you think about doing some international work? And so we're rocking and rolling. We are rocking and rolling for 17 years. We're helping babies here in the United States. We're sending the medical team to Bolivia. In 2019, we had done our very first ever strategic plan as an organization. And part of that, September of 2019, we had done our very first after 19 years, had done our very first strategic plan as an organization. And part of that was, hey, we got to put this international thing on our plate, and we got to talk about it. And on our plan, we've got years, right? We're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And international expansion wasn't supposed to be until 2022. So 2017, 18, 19, we were doing what we're doing. In January of 2020, we had about 20 children that were recognized or approved to come to the United States. And between January and March, we did a handful of those children. We also had told 15 families outside of the 5 or so that we had already done. We had told 15 families that, yes, you can come to the United States. Yes, Mom. Yes, Dad. You get to come to the United States, and we're going to heal your child's heart. Well, what happened in March of 2020 changed all of our lives. Exponentially changed all of our lives. And so that was truly the birth of our international program. So after many conversations with me and Sonia, and saying, "Oi, what are we going to do? We've told 15 mamas and daddies, we've served these 5, we've told 15 mamas and daddies that we're going to help their children, and we can't get them here." So we immediately reached out to our partners and said, hey, where our program's operating, what is going on, help us, please. First important thing of collaboration is recognizing that you need help, right? And being willing to ask. Please help us find these families their place for surgery. And so, again, being from Texas, there's all kinds of weird things that we say. We say things like, go big or go home. We say things like, hold my beer, watch this. And we did. We said all of it, right? But the thing that actually that we took to heart and that we did was, and we recognized that when the world paused, we did not. We went back to our conversation about a strategic plan and said, this is what we said we were going to do. And again, then I picked up the phone and said, guess what, Sonia? We got to go create a brand new program because we got to find a way to fund all of these surgeries through these other organizations. And so that was truly the birth of our Heart Connect program. And the biggest partner of our Heart Connect program is Sweet Rob and Gift of Life. And so the purpose of Heart Connect program is really not very far from our mission of our organization. It is actually to allow children to have access to this surgery, necessary surgery that they need to save their life, but closer to home. And so we, for a couple of years, well, about 16, 18 months, we were working really to find these children their home while also trying to build this program. What is it going to look like? Do we have the financial structure to do it? What does that look like? How are we going to shift funds from one to the other, but not wreck our core, which is bring children to the United States? I've told the board, I've told everybody, yes, it's costly, and I recognize this. And this is, as you said, Emma, there's sometimes that you disagree, but you agree with one purpose. And so Rob and I have had multiple conversations about bringing children to the United States. It is costly, but it is so very important for many, many reasons. And I will just give this from a medical standpoint. What I continue to hear over and over and over from these hospitals that we partner with in the United States is, I don't see a 13-year-old TET at my hospital. And by that 13-year-old TET, that allows me and my staff to train, and it allows me and my staff to become better surgeons, better cardiologists, better nurses, et cetera. And so that's probably one of the biggest reasons because our hospitals love it. And they love this relationship because of the unique cases that they get to see. And so in 2020, we're going to take out 2020 numbers, right? So up until about 17, 18, 19, we were serving about 40-ish kids a year. And in 2021, we served 130 children in 1 year. And so that was another reason why we needed to create Heart Connect. And so we went to Rob and some of our other partners and said, hey guys, what do we do? Where do we go? Let's go save more babies. And so we dug into this relationship and like Rob said, we've been partners for a long time, but this is a new part of our partnership these last really 2 years. And we have been iterating and ideating and really thinking about what is the right thing to do. I can't remember who said it a few minutes ago, but I ask often, or I say often, sometimes it may not feel like it's the right thing to do, but if it's the right thing to do, then you just have to do it. And that's what we did. And so with the creation of Heart Connect, we really had to focus because the need is so great. So we decided that we would focus on Asia, Africa, and Latin America, and in those 3 regions. And those 3 regions alone over the last 5 years have become overwhelming, but such in a great way. And so many conversations were had. We also do some other programs in Zimbabwe. We work with Owen in Haiti/Dominican Republic. In Nigeria, we send 5 teams this year. We've sent 5 teams to Nigeria, and we've got 2 teams a year going into Kenya. We are now working with Tenwick up in Tenwick, the hospital up in Tenwick, and so we have a long list. I think there's 11 total new programs that we are supporting one way or another, and that's something that was very important to us as an organization, is not to just be the organization that donates the money. And you can ask Rob, you can ask Sweet Yvonne about Okay, great. Yes, we want to partner. Yes, we want to do this thing in Honduras, but we want to learn. And I think that's one of the things about collaboration that we are so strongly intent on, is that we want to truly be a partner. We don't just want to be somebody that says, here's a grant and move on. And we've got some pretty strict guidelines about our grants too. You got a 6 months check-in, and at the 6 months, if you're halfway through the program, you get the other half. And if not, then you don't get it, and kind of things. And so so we do look at our partnerships and our granting program as in a little bit different capacity. And so I obviously have an immense amount of respect, and I've learned so much just when I thought I got it, and I still don't got it. I don't have it, and there's going to be another conversation, Rob, that you need to come to Austin. Or I'll come back, and we just need to sit down and have a conversation. And I've learned so much because I've got a lot of questions and I got a lot of ideas. And so, but through these types of partnerships, obviously, we were able this year to last November, this is what I was talking about, Luke in Honduras, is that we were able to, that conversation with Rob about where do we go, what do we do, and we dove deep in going into Honduras. So we went the first time last year, and again, this is Rob's brainchild. He came and he said, I went here 5 years ago, I couldn't do it, but I think we can do it now. Let's go do it, and this is my plan. And so we did it for the first time in November of last year. We've been 3 times this year. We'll go again in November this year, and these are all the teams through Rob, through El Salvador. The teams coming in from El Salvador. Rodrigo went last time, and then remind me who's coming in November.
I think from Owen Medical Center.
That's right.
That's right.
Yep, that's right. And then we, for the first time, will go with our own HeartGift curated team in February. And I hope we can go five times next year as well. It would be really great. But at the end of the day, we can't do this alone, right? And through the collaboration and the partnerships, obviously, this starts to create a trickle effect. A trickle effect. I was telling Rodrigo last night, I said, typically I remember in my head, so specifically Rob saying, Christy, it takes minimum 10 years to create a program. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort. And my thought is, again, being from Texas and we do everything big, my thought is, forget that, let's do Honduras in 5 between the 2 of us, right? Now, that might be unrealistic, and I know Rodrigo's going, 5, but Rodrigo's a smart man, and I learned so much, even just again last night and on the last trip that we went. It's very fascinating, this world that we are diving into together. But we have to do it together. And so a couple of things, and I'm going to have to read some of this, but so please excuse me just real quick as I wrap up here. A couple of really important things that I want to talk about with collaboration, and that what we've learned as an organization, we are not competitors, because we do have a shared mission and we do have a shared purpose, and it's to save every single child that we can find and that comes across our tables, our desks, our computers, right? And so just remember a couple of things real quick. Unexpected opportunities reveal themselves, but they only reveal themselves when you allow yourself to open your ears and open your minds to somebody else's ideas and thoughts, right? And expertise. Always allow each other their own space to do what they do best. And I could talk forever what Gift of Life does best. I feel like we bring such a little part to this big world of Gift of Life, but I'm learning every single day. He is truly the leader. The goal of partnership is to not solve all the problems, just keep it simple. Stay focused and keep it simple. And then last, but certainly not least, partnership, and it's a little bit of where I started a few minutes ago, partnerships should not compromise the mission, because you are all moving towards a shared mission. And there's great, great power in the power of partnership and collaboration. This is known as, my board loves this slide. Let me just say, for all of you board members, I bet you probably love this slide too. This is what we call the hockey stick at HeartGift. And you can see what I was talking about earlier. For the first, good 10 so years, we were doing 30, 40 surgeries, 18, 12 years, sorry. And then you can see right there what says 16, 17. That's when we started going to Bolivia. And then in 18-19, we doubled down a little bit and did, obviously, really started looking at the international piece. And then you can see what happened in 2020. Again, the world paused. HeartGift didn't. We doubled down on all the strategic infrastructure that we had in our partners. And that's when we started to grow. That 625 this year, if everything happens the way it's supposed to, that 625 will turn into 733, which is amazing for us as an organization. I'm very excited tomorrow and Tuesday. Thank you. We don't do it alone, right? This is partnership. You can see what happened. You can see what happened when we were doing it by ourselves. And then, like I said, strategically, we started reaching to others and not be the only person at the table. So thank you. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I'm really excited because we go into our next round of 3 years of strategic planning. Anybody wants to talk about strategic planning and those kind of things, I'm most happy to do it because this is one of my favorite times of every 3 years. And this is what we do alongside you. Every family that we serve nobody receives a bill. It's completely free. But it's, again, because of all of our partnerships.
Thank you. As we get ready for our next speaker, I just want to talk about these two women who are clearly great leaders of their organization. And we talk about this panel, talk about like-minded partners. Not every organization in our space, in my view, is like-minded. Many have different motives, different ways of doing things, and different reasons for doing things. And it took me a long time to realize you had to make that differentiation. You had to be able to properly pick your partners. Because in picking that partner moving forward, and I've done a much better job picking partners in this work than I did in my private life. And I'm very proud of that. And so, no, Jackie's great. It's before. But the point I'm making is how important it is. It was funny, come on. It's important to really pick the right partners, and you two are amazing people, and I really thank you. And your presentations were excellent. We're not done yet, though. So this next guy on stage here makes me feel bad every time I'm with him. He's really a brilliant guy, and he hasn't aged in the 15 years I've known him. But he is so unique in what he does. I think I first met Owen when you called me when you were with Paul Farmer, I think. And I get this guy on the phone, it sounded like he was 15 years old, and he's telling me I just got this job, and we should collaborate together, and I really kind of blew you off. Then I met him in person, and Owen Robinson has as much desire and dedication to help the children of this world as anybody. And I say this unabashedly, his organization is now called International Cardiac Alliance, but it was originally Haiti Cardiac Alliance. And right after the earthquake, around that time, Owen was in Haiti and helping children. And when we started opening up Haiti with George Solomon and others, Owen joined our team. And he brought an amazing dynamic, which I'm going to let him speak to, because, again, he's smarter than me. He can do it much better than I can. But what I like working with Owen about is that he really does keep it simple, as you're talking about. Owen makes it understandable, and what he does is something that is very unique to our space. And I think you're going to really enjoy his presentation. So the leader of International Cardiac Alliance, Owen Robinson. I like that he set his, you see this is a Harvard graduate. He set his timer on his watch to make sure he's going to be on time. So thank you.
Thank you for awesome. Partnership in action right there. Exactly. Well, thank you. It's such an honor to be here. It really is, to see so many people that I've worked with through the years. And just to start on a personal note, actually, when I was 14 years old, I got picked by Rotary International to be a foreign exchange student and spent a year in Argentina. And that was the first time I ever worked with Rotary, got to know Rotary, and probably everything that I've done since then wouldn't have happened if Rotary hadn't gotten me on that plane for the first time. So I really appreciate that. So yeah, I won't spend too much time on this slide because I'm going to walk through the history of our work together. But just a few points that I'd make here. One is, like I said, last night and today, I've talked with dozens of people that I've worked with and that our organization has worked with since the beginning. And if you just look at all these numbers, hundreds and hundreds of kids treated from, especially Haiti, which is one of the most challenging countries in the world to try to treat children from. Dozens of people in this room today and who were here last night were instrumental in every single one of these milestones. And it's really taken a village, and the fact that so many people not only stepped up to work together, but did so in Haiti or with Haiti, I think is so incredible, because it would have been so easy to just say, no, there are so many other countries where we can get more done, where we can, it's less of a headache, but everyone committed to Haiti. And most of my talk today will be about Haiti because that's where we've worked the longest, but we're also, going beyond that now as well. And the other thing I would just point out here, you see all these different sort of milestones. The other thing that reflects is that as part of our collaboration, we've just never taken no for an answer. Rob hasn't, I haven't, so many of you in the room who've worked with us haven't. One door closes, especially with Haiti, and you just figure something else out, right? Every single step of our collaboration has said, okay, well, that was our strategy yesterday. Well, it's not going to work today, so let's come up with a new strategy, because we're not going to stop doing what we do. And so, this timeline really reflects that. So yeah, there's been a few different sort of phases of our work together. And the very beginning, I started working with this organization called Partners in Health right after the Haiti earthquake. Some of you might be familiar with them. And cardiac had nothing to do with my job. I was helping to build a big referral hospital in central Haiti, working on a lot of the strategy and the planning for that. And as part of that, I've toured other hospitals in Haiti just to learn, see what was going on, see what we needed to learn to open this new hospital. And there was a specific girl, she was about 15 years old, and she was hospitalized with a heart problem. And I just happened to be walking through the ward, and I said, well, what's going to happen? And they said, well, there's no heart surgery really possible here for this condition right now, so there's not much we can do. And so completely as just like a side project, as a lark, I started cold emailing hospitals and actually got a hospital in Syracuse, New York, upstate, Golisano Children's, to agree to take her kind of sight unseen, which is crazy that actually worked. But she came to the United States. We just sort of arranged it. We got her plane tickets, we got her host family, had successful surgery. That actual first patient, she now has her medical degree, and she's working on becoming a pediatric cardiologist, which is pretty cool. That's so. That was patient one, and then what actually happened, and again, this was all unplanned, is, kind of rumors started getting around in Haiti, that there's this guy who got this one patient to the United States. And so I started having different doctors and people in Haiti start texting me and say, hey, I've got a patient, I've got a patient, I've got a patient. I said, well, that's not what I do. This isn't really my job, but send me the information. Let's see what we can do. And so, long story short, pretty quickly we had 15 or 20 patients on just a back of the envelope waiting list, and that was when I first reached out to Rob. And I don't remember getting blown off. Maybe that's your memory of it, but yeah, exactly. But basically, I said, hey, I've got a couple of specific kids here. And I knew that Rob was working already in Haiti in this private clinic there. And so I said, would you consider them? And very quickly we got the kids accepted. They came to this private clinic in the suburbs of Port-au-Prince. They had surgery. That was the start of our work together. And so what happened is that waiting list just kept growing. The more you do one or two cases, and then 10 other people reach out and say, I've got a case. And in Haiti, there was just so much need that's kind of how that happened. And so in 2013, and I should say that all of this happened in 2011, 2012. This was before the organization existed. In 2013, Partners in Health kind of said, look, we sort of been humoring you to do this, but this isn't really, what we hired you for. And, we don't have a budget for this. This isn't really part of our strategy. And so about that time, this person up on the right, Jim Willens, who's a cardiologist here in New York, he and I started partnering, and we decided to start a new organization. And Partners in Health absolutely gave it their blessing. But Jim and I sort of took a leap, and we started this organization called Haiti Cardiac Alliance in 2013. And it was a leap. When I say a leap, I really mean it. And in those early days, even before we had our 501c3, because that takes a while to get, we were just putting stuff on our credit cards. I was just swiping my Amex for heart surgery, which I don't recommend. That's not a financial plan that is a good idea, especially when you don't know if you have any donors yet, which we didn't. So, but we started that way. And, in those early days when it was me and Jim and then, our first Haitian program lead, Kessie, what we really focused on was something that I learned from Paul Farmer, who's in the middle there, who's the founder of Partners in Health and a friend of mine, a mentor of mine, which is this idea of patient accompaniment, which is basically you can never say that's not our job when it comes to getting a patient what they need in terms of care and even the follow-up. If they don't have minutes for their cell phone, that's a problem. If they don't have nutrition, that's a problem. If they don't have bus fare, that's a problem. If they've got hesitation about having surgery and they're scared about it, that's a problem. And all of that are things that you need to work on and be with them every step of the way. And so, especially in those early days, even while Gift of Life was still in this sort of, temporary clinic that they were working in, what we really found was that we had a really nice complement for each other, because what we did is we really tried to focus on everything outside the walls of the hospital. From that first moment when a child shows up blue to the neighborhood clinic, all the way through getting them proposed, getting them to the hospital door, getting them in. And then just as importantly, you're not done after the surgery. The long-term follow-up care absolutely has to happen. It's non-negotiable. And you need to do whatever it takes to make sure that those patients are coming back, that they're getting that follow-up. So in those early days, that was really what we were doing, at least for the patients that we were referring. And Gift of Life was getting patients from a lot of other places as well. And then what happened is we sort of turned a corner and we really kind of were off to the races starting in 2015, which is when Gift of Life made a commitment to the only children's hospital in Haiti, to St. Damien Children's Hospital, to invest in that facility, invest in that team, invest in the people there, help train up a pediatric cardiologist, spent over $1 million on that program. And so, again, it just worked out so well as a partnership, because what we said is, okay, Gift of Life, your focus is on what happens in the operating room and in the ICU and everything that it takes to get that program running really well. And what we're going to do is not only this patient accompaniment, where we're going to follow every single patient from the moment they first get picked up to literally 5 years at least after their surgery, depending on what the surgery is. We're going to focus on that piece. And then the other thing that we really took on at about that time was the idea of having a single national waiting list for all of Haiti, for the entire country, so that you can triage kids and make sure that the kids who need those surgeries the most are the ones who are going to get picked for each of those trips. So we started working with them. We started doing that. We started reaching out to clinics, hospitals around the entire country, and started partnering with a lot of other organizations as well, and also flying kids out of Haiti, but really focused on building up that program together with Gift of Life. I should also say in the very, very early days, I think all the way back in 2012 is when we first had a HeartGift patient, which was amazing. So that was wonderful. And this was also during the period Chain of Hope not only took some patients from us, but helped one of our wonderful employees get trained in cardiac surgery and Aswan, which was really wonderful. So that was really, I'd say, the golden era of our work in Haiti. Our best year, we treated over 100 children, both at St. Damien and flying them to places like the Cayman Islands. Now, what happened in about 2019, of course, Haiti had always had a bumpy road in terms of its political security, in terms of its safety, but things really deteriorated in 2019 to the point where the last surgical mission that Gift of Life sent actually had to be evacuated because there was shooting. I mean, it was a very unsafe situation. There was just gunfire everywhere. It was really terrible. And so, that was unfortunately the end of surgeries taking place at St. Damien Hospital, although I would say that, that huge investment that they've made in that hospital still, affects thousands of children every year in Haiti because they've built an amazing ICU and have just done a lot of other things for that hospital. So what happened when that happened? So it would have been easy for us, and not easy, but it would have been very possible for us and for Gift of Life to say, okay, Haiti is too difficult to work in. And in fact, a lot of other organizations did pull out of Haiti, organizations that, worked in multiple countries. They just said, okay, that's the end of the Haiti program. We did not. So basically, what we've done ever since 2019 in Haiti has been whenever a child gets diagnosed and we know they need a heart surgery, we start working on a passport immediately. And so you'll see that we've flown hundreds of kids to other countries, both in collaboration with Gift of Life and with some other partners as well. But we've had kids go as far away as India. We've had plenty go to the Cayman Islands, to the United States. HeartGift, I was just looking, has now taken 14 children from us and has just accepted another one just recently. And so this has been a whole other set of challenges in Haiti. Just, you can imagine what it takes to try to get kids flown sometimes halfway across the world who live in rural Haiti. But, I'd say we've gotten pretty good at it. And, again, we make sure that when they get back to Haiti, they get that long-term follow-up. It's so important. And so I'd say the only silver, not the only, but a silver lining to working in Haiti is it's so challenging. And every single patient, you just have to problem solve and figure out what is it going to take to make this work and how do we do it. That we have realized that, okay, working in one of the hardest countries in the world to try to do this work and just having to be resourceful and creative and taking this patient accompaniment approach and this national waiting list approach, this is actually something that we can potentially bring to other countries. And especially, I think, some of the more challenging countries and the poorer countries in the world. And so what that led us to was Bolivia. We talked with Rob and with Goli for a while about, okay, what would be another country where what we've learned in Haiti would actually make sense to bring to a different place. And Bolivia turned out to be the best place to get going. And so we've worked there for a few years, and I won't spend much time on it because Erica did a wonderful job with that. But yeah, I would say the real best decision we made in Bolivia was finding exactly the right person to help lead that program for us, who is Carla. And again, it's the same idea where it's really a kind of a whatever it takes approach. If a family lives, a 16-hour bus ride away and that's going to be a deal breaker, Carla will buy them a plane ticket. If the family doesn't have money for diapers or baby formula and that's not something the hospital covers, Carla will go out and buy it. If a family hasn't shown up for their post-op appointment, a month after surgery, Carla will track them down and figure out why and get them in. And so, that's really our approach. That's how we've worked together with Gift of Life. And it's just been a really great compliment that we've been able to work like that. And we don't quite know what the next country, well, we organizationally, we're about to move into Zambia, which is very exciting. But, I'm pretty confident that we will find more countries to collaborate with Goli in and to take this same approach. So, this is a before and after. And actually, this wasn't even intentional, but I know our lunch session is about rheumatic heart disease. So So that's rheumatic heart disease right there. That's a 13-year-old patient on the left who probably weighed about 65 pounds, and that's a year after his heart surgery. And so, it's been just a real pleasure to be able to do that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Owen. Right on time, as usual. Because of our tardiness after the coffee break, we've run out of some discussion, but I think we're going to extend it 5 minutes here because, if we could turn the lights up, please. I think it's very clear for our Gift of Life partners out in the audience here why they are our like-minded partners. I have the opportunity and the pleasure of dealing with them on a regular basis, talk to them maybe too much, but we always do good, and it's really a blessing to work with people who have the same desire in their mind, and that is to help as many children as possible. It's a blessing to have the three of you, and to listen to them. I just sit here and realize how fortunate we are, and I hope the Gift of Life International board out there, during our meetings, I'll mention these names, I'll mention the names of the organizations, but this is who is behind them, and this is why they are so impactful. Let's have a couple questions, please, if you can. Hashem Shalki, please. Mike, Caitlin, you here somewhere? Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Please mute it. Hi, everybody. Thank you. It's strange enough that I found myself correlated with everybody in the panel, and I'll tell you why in 1 second. The program of heart surgery started in Egypt in 1995. As many places, we send a couple of patients a year to the USA. And then in the late 90s, 97, 98, and 99, we had Gift of Life teams coming to Egypt and Chain of Hope coming to Egypt. And then it was 2010, we as Rotary initiated the first intensive care for pediatric cardiac patients. And it was till 2015 when I met Rob, and we thought about, okay, we'll try to do more patients with local team. Since then, we had 5 global grants, all of them in a total of sponsored for around $450,000 US, and plus corporate responsibility in Egypt. We operated on 500 patients in the last 5 years. We did not stop there. We decided to go south. Through still. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
It's a message, Hashem. No, I'm kidding. Keep going. It's getting better.
Okay. It will definitely get better because it was during COVID, we had a VTT, which is a vocational training team we sent from Cairo down to Kenya. In Kenya, we had 8 missions. We operated there on 88 patients, and all of them went well. But this is not the end of the story. We went to Uganda, and lately we went to Zimbabwe, where, of course, who sponsored our trip to Zimbabwe? So that's what I'm saying, the correlation. And in the middle, I can't forget, we had 5 patients from Haiti who operated in Egypt. So this shows how, by mere accident, all the panel is linked to the Egyptian program of cardiac surgery. Thank you, everybody. As you said, it's not a competition. It is everybody helps to cure as much patients as we can. Thank you very much.
Hashem says something there about the Rotary Global Grants, and it just reinforces to our Rotarians out there how important Rotary has been to Gift of Life. In these grants, there is a woman here in the audience that has been so central to what we've done, and her husband have been around Gift of Life for over 40 years. Unfortunately, her husband Henry passed a number of years ago, but that did not stop Estelle. Estelle Ebert, Estelle, would you just stand for a moment, please? Estelle is an amazing woman who has kept our efforts in Egypt alive. And there should be more people in the world like you, Estelle. Thank you. Let's do one more question. Harry. Okay, we're over here. Harry?
He's gonna.
Okay, sorry. Can't see that.
Okay. This is more of a comment. Emma, when you started, you triggered something in my mind. Meager, you used the word meager start. Okay? I've been on the Gift of Life Long Island board since 1988. Treasurer for 31 years and current chairman. Joan and I have hosted about 12 Gift of Life children and about 12 exchange students, just some background. At any rate, the first year I was on the board, I think we did 6 children on Long Island. We topped out in the early 2000s at 61 children, did a total of over 600 children. And why I bring all this up is we had growth, obviously. But we also experienced a lot of growing pains. This is where I would be interested in any comments. After the early 2000s, we stumbled. We almost fell apart as an organization. And that would have been terrible because I think we've been a substantial partner for over the years. One of the most important things that we have found is having children in country. You bring those children to a club, you get the club involved. You bring them to a fundraiser or you talk to a club about raising funds, you have a child to show them. A perfect example, Polina. We hosted her a couple of years ago from Ukraine. We had a boost in membership on our board, okay? We had people here that may not have come had we not had Polina back then to visit their clubs. So I would like to invite you folks, if you have a child that you need to bring in country and you don't have a slot, contact us. We'll do the best we can to work something out. We've been able to bring a few into St. Francis Hospital. Unfortunately, years ago, we were using Stony Brook Medical Center, and that's where we did 61 children the last year before politics got in the way. One of the things, too, what we found is when we stopped bringing a lot of children, we had a lot of resistance from some of our board members to partnering with International. They wanted to do it themselves. And while I'm very conservative and kind of had the same kind of thoughts, I also realized that we have to grow, we have to evolve. And with a great partner like Rob leading the team, it made it a lot easier.
Thank you.
So I'm just curious if you have, oh, Sweet Rob, that's right. You've been tagged, buddy.
I do wish Jackie was here to hear that, but thank you.
So let me just close it and say that we have the will, you have the way. Bring us some children.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say
So
something?
I really wish this could go on forever, but there's a guy who's raising his hand who I this. Oh, absolutely.
Sorry I just think, to your point just now, there is one thing that I think is important to share with everyone, and I hate to go in a political direction, but I think all of you know that in June, the administration passed an executive order banning visas from being issued to citizens of, I think, at least 11 or 12 countries. Haiti is one of those, Yemen, there's some other countries around the world. That executive order has no exception in it for medical cases to come to the United States. It's got an exception if you're a World Cup soccer player. It's got a couple other things. If you're of national interest to the U.S. Justice Department, it does not have an exception for children who have heart surgery. So we've actually, on a one-off basis, we've gotten at least one exception so far, but the wording of the law does not still allow medical kids from those banned countries to come to the United States. And so I just wanted to make everyone aware of that, and if anyone feels moved to speak up in whatever way you can, we would appreciate that.
Thank you.
I just wanted to comment on what you said about how you stumbled, because I think all of us that have been around a long time, you know, to keep
Why do you look at me like that? I mean,
You've been around a long time, Rob. I mean, we've talked about that. I think for us, we internally debated at Chain of Hope, and I know it's something you and I need to have a conversation about, versus bringing children to a country individually or spending the money on a mission to treat more. What is the right thing to do? So I know that accountants and treasurers in organizations will look at data and how many kids, how much bang you get for your buck. But how do you value the life of an individual child? And also what you said was really important, because our founder and president would be very pro that. You're bringing the issue alive by bringing the children and transferring an individual child, and it keeps the work alive. So you alluded it to earlier. I think both things are important. I'm fighting at the moment to keep our international child referrer program alive, just sharing that internally, because you have those that think, you know, you can spend more money on more kids, which you can understand, and we all have a responsibility to spend our resources appropriately. But I think there's definitely a place for bringing children and keeping this work alive. I just wanted to comment.
Great comment.
Yeah. Actually, I just want to double down on all three of those conversations. So, we, especially over the last 5 years with our growth, we've said so many times that, and I referred to it earlier, that we are, finding the steel and building the plane and driving it and running out of gas and launching the plane again, but bringing children to the United States, and I did say something about this earlier. Yes, we recognize as an organization that it is more costly to bring a child to the United States. But for everything that you just mentioned, we will continue to bring children to the United States. And in fact, that's one of the big things that I've already sort of primed my mission chair, actually day before yesterday on a phone call on the way down here from the airport, was I don't want to get away from our U.S. chapters. It is more expensive, and it is. We grapple with the same thing that you grapple with all of us are grappling. It's like, and you see the hockey stick, right? How do you show your donors and your board and your advocates this hockey stick and say, yes, but, of this 625, only 29 of those children will be from, being served in the United States, and our growth and our impact is really on our international piece, which is so important because we want to serve as many children as we can, right? So we too are all, I think, in the same position, not to mention matter of fact, we had a case the other day that was referred to us, and I emailed Sonia back and I said, Sonia, are they on the list? Is this country on the list? She said, no, but blah, blah is, because we had a case from that too. And I said, okay, well, again, never say never. Let's do everything that we can. And so we see the same things that I think we all are, but it is and always will be very important for us to bring children to the United States because it's the core of what we've done for 25 years. But we also see the importance of the growth. We're grappling with the same thing. It's that quantitative, how do you put a number on this mission without it feeling icky? And that was not my statement. That's actually a board member. One of my board members said that to me. And I very quickly said, it's not icky. It's the reality of what we do, right? So I just wanted to double down on that.
Thank you, Harry, for beginning that conversation. This is what we were hoping to have. And I must tell you, the fact that we have these three persons up here, I think and I have been around a long time, I think they're some of the most influential people, perhaps the most influential people in our space. And the fact that we have them here is really wonderful for all of us. Before we break for lunch, I do have to show respect to my friend Bill Pickens, since I dished you last night. So you can have the last question, Bill. Can we get a translator also? Bill, you may need a translator. Maybe.
Here you go, y'all.
Harry, you want to translate for Bill?
Thank you. I wanted to bring up a comment that was raised with one of the earlier speakers about the parents. All the emphasis is always on the children, and that's where it should be for sure. But many of you may remember Tom Ford, who was a Rotarian, and he and I were on the board at the same time. He came to Memphis, and I took him around to the FedEx house, which is where our family stay. And he told me something very important that stuck with me, and when we put this in, he says, you know, the mothers are really, they've got so much emotion going on with the stuff with their children. And he said, you really need to emphasize taking care of the mother as well as the child. In our group, we have a lady that goes, we call her grandma, but she goes and sits with the mother while the child's in surgery. She takes them to the grocery store so they can put in some food at the FedEx house, so if they want to cook something of their own. But we have a dentist, that's my dentist actually. He says, bring the mothers over, and he does a complete, checks their teeth, x-rays, cleans them. He's done a complete set of dentures. He's done root canals. There's just no telling how much money that he's given away, but this is all to help the self-esteem of the mother. Before they leave, there's a day spa in Memphis called Google's, which is very famous because they used to do Elvis's hair. But so we take the mother over to Google's for a hairdo and a manicure and some roses, and before they leave. And what that does is this just lifts their spirit and makes them feel like that, you know, they're important, and we know that they're going through issues, and we want to do whatever we can to help them. So if you have that opportunity when you have families here, if you can find, I've actually had 2 or 3 dentists that from my church that says, if this guy drops off, I'll take his place as far as the dental work. But, you know, these little things like this mean a whole lot. But Tom Ford was the one that brought that to our attention, and we've been doing it ever since.
Thank you, Bill. So we have to eat. We're ready to do that. If we could do that quicker than we had the coffee, it would be nice. So go and get your meals. I want to thank my friends up here for your time, for being here this weekend. You truly are valued and respected, and thank you. Thank you, everybody. Let's come back in. We have a great lunchtime speaker, so please don't dilly-dally out there. Come back in.